Coase Theorem. The inability to assign property rights such that a complete set of markets can be created has provided the rationale for governments to intervene as an advocate of proper management of environmental resources. But Coase, 1960, pointed out that if the assumption of zero transaction costs is maintained, the set of markets can be expanded beyond normal private goods to include many non-market assets, as long as institutional constraints to assigning well-defined property rights are removed. The Coase theorem postulates that disputing parties will work out a private agreement that is Pareto efficient, regardless of the party to whom unilateral property rights to the non-market assets are assigned initially. As long as these legal entitlements can be freely exchanged, government intervention is relegated to designating and enforcing well-defined property rights. The Coase theorem is based on the following assumptions. Everyone has perfect information. Consumers and producers are price takers. There is a costless court system for enforcing agreements. Producers maximize profits and consumers maximize utility. There is no income or wealth effect. There are no transaction costs. Coase illustrates his analysis by considering a rancher and a farmer with adjoining properties. There is a negative externality in that the cattle tend to wander over to the farm and eat the crops, rather than staying on the ranch. What happens next depends on property rights, which are the rights that come with ownership. One of three things might be efficient from a social perspective. It might be efficient to erect a fence to keep the cows away from the crops. It might be efficient to close down the farm. Finally, it might be efficient to close down the ranch, if the farm is valuable enough and if the fence costs more than the value of the ranch. If the farmer has a right not to have his crops eaten and can confiscate the cows if they wander onto the farm, then the rancher will have an incentive to erect a fence to keep the cows away, if that is the efficient solution. If the efficient solution is to close down the ranch, then the rancher will do that, since the farmer can confiscate the cows if they go over to the farm and it is not worth building the fence by hypothesis. Finally, if the efficient solution to the externality is to close down the farm, then the rancher will have an incentive to buy the farm in order to purchase the farm's rights so that he can keep the ranch in operation. Since it is efficient to close down the farm only if the farm's worth is less than the ranch, there is enough value in operating the ranch to purchase the farm at its value and still have money left, i.e., there are gains from trade from selling the farm to the rancher. In all these cases, if the farmer has the property rights, then the efficient outcome is reached. Now suppose instead the rancher has the rights and the farmer has no recourse if the cows eat his crops. If shutting down the farm is efficient, then the farmer has no recourse but to shut it down. Similarly, if building the fence is efficient, then the farmer will build the fence to protect his crops. Finally, if shutting down the ranch is efficient, the farmer will buy the ranch from the rancher in order to be able to continue to operate a more valuable farm. In all cases, the efficient solution is reached through negotiations. Coase argued that bargaining can generally solve problems of externalities, and the real problem is ill-defined property rights. If the rancher and the farmer can't transfer their property rights, then the efficient outcome may not arise. Criticisms of the Coase theorem. There are several practical problems for the Coasean bargaining to work for controlling the environmental externalities. First, in reality, there is no zero transaction cost. The transaction costs or costs of bargaining are positive in reality. Second, one of the Coasean solution is that all externalities are captured in the value of property rights and there are incentives for gainful bargaining. But this can work well only for externalities on a smaller scale or local externalities of the type described by Coase. Third, Coasean bargaining arises in the context of defining the property rights for environmental resources. The environmental resource is a stock affecting the welfare of both present and future generations. Capitalization of future benefits from this resource is not possible because property rights to future generations of affected people cannot be defined.